Hey, Bravehearts. Welcome to another Doc Demo. I'm here with Christine. And what are we talking about today, Christine?
We're talking about the back.
We're talking about the back. Because sometimes you can have a back attack.
Yeah. It can get all twisted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did they diagnose with you?
Scoliosis.
Scoliosis.
Was the diagnosis when I was 16.
16.
Yeah.
So think about it. It all of a sudden just came when she was 16. Like, that didn't happen. No, it didn't just come when she was 16, but we'll get into that in a second. You know, I was telling you before that a year ago we had a couple fly over from Saudi Arabia, and their daughter actually had a C curve, and it was a C curve, and she was 2 years old. And they told her that every 6 months they were going to do a new plastic cast, and they were going to put her into a plastic cast to make sure that it didn't get worse, but it would never get better. Okay? So they came here for a PTT, and I'm not going to tell you we totally straightened it, because when you have a C curve, and it was a C curve, after about 7 days of being here, we reduced it by 30%. Now, understand, we reduced it by 30%, and the first 30% is the easiest. You got to get that. Because the deeper you go, the older it is. And the older it is, the more it's a scar tissue calcification issue, right? Like, you know that, right?
Yeah, now I do.
Yeah.
After having so many treatments, I can...
This is your third time here, right?
This is my third time here, but my fourth set of treatments.
Set of treatments.
Yeah, so I started in December, and then I did January, February, and now March. So this is my fourth round.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you tell them, like, you were diagnosed at 16, and what did they tell you? What was their prediction for you, that you would have to what?
I would have to get surgery. So what happened was, when I was 16 years old, I went to get a physical, and then the doctor told me to bend down, touch my toes, and she saw a very severe curve. And she said, "Oh, you send me off to x-rays." And that's when they found a very severe scoliosis. And right. I was shocked, because I didn't notice when it happened, when it started. It was just all of a sudden one day they said, "This is what you have." So I couldn't even tell you when it came, because I wasn't born like this.
Yeah, I know that, but just think about how people get comfortable with things. Yeah. Like, I mean, to ask someone, "Hey, do you have a good bowel movement?" They just say yes. Do you have a strong urination? "Oh, of course I do." You know, "Do you eat right?" "Oh, of course I do." But look at how many. Okay, let me put it this way. Forget that. Look at what's going on right now. You can ask somebody, "Hey, how's your health?" "Oh, my health is great." And they've got diabetes. They've got arthritis. They'll have an autoimmune disease. They might even have something that's life-threatening, but at the moment, it's not bothering them, so their health is great. Because today, we've been programmed that the only time your health isn't great is when you're rushed to the hospital, when you're in the hospital. But as long as you're not in emergency, as long as you're not a 911 emergency, your health is doing great. Yeah. So anyway, 16, they tell you.
Yeah, and then they sent me for x-rays.
Why didn't you go to surgery? What happened there? Because usually...
Yeah, and that's what they wanted. When I got to the specialist, it was that they were kind of selling me for that. And I was 16, but I knew right away it wasn't even an option for me. Like, it wasn't even on the table.
What did they do? Want to do rods?
Yeah.
Because that's what they want to do.
They do. They wanted to put 2 metal rods in, and it's a huge surgery, 6 months recovery, and I just didn't want that. I didn't want foreign objects in me. I didn't want to have just the sound of it. Right. Steel rods, like, hold it. I don't want to be like a Tin Man. Like,
Okay.
And I was always really active. I was doing ballet. I was doing dance, skiing, and I didn't want to feel foreign objects, metal in my body. So that was never on the table for me. And they said, "We're just going to monitor it every year." That was when I was 16, and I'm 35 now, and I just started doing your Wolfe Non-Surgical. My back never, the spine, the curvature, when they measured it, it never progressed.
But what about the lump on the back?
Yeah.
Because that was a huge contracted muscle.
Yes.
Why don't we show Sean, can we show?
Yeah.
I want to show the before and the and what. Okay, there's.
So this was the very first photo that was taken before I had any treatments, and this was back in December.
December, right?
Yeah, December, the end of December. I think December 24th. Okay.
Why don't we show the picture from the other night?
Yeah. Probably 2 nights ago. Yeah. So just so you can see this was after my treatment on...
The one to the right, everyone. So if you take a look,
you can see
the actual picture to the right.
Yes.
That is the one that we did the other night.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the difference?
I think it's unbelievable. I can't even believe that's my back. And structurally, the changes that happened with the span, not even 3 months. And the fact that I'm 35 years old too, Yeah,
because the longer you let it sit, the more it cements.
And when so I spent over 20 years just cementing it.
But what did you do in those 20 years? Tell me what you did to try to help yourself.
I thought at that time it was helping. Now looking back in hindsight, after learning from you, I think, okay, it wasn't. But I did physio, I did chiropractor. I was going every 2 weeks, sometimes more. If things would pop out, I would get a rib that would always pop out. My neck, I would always have stuff.
See, the rib didn't pop out, everyone. But it was the scar tissue issue. The more that you get scar tissue, what you have is, let's say the muscle is this long. The more inflammation you have, it shrinks. It's the same thing as putting the steak on the barbecue, the fire, dehydration. It shrinks this way and it thins out. So as it shrinks this way, and then let's say you got stressed today and you contract it just a little bit more, it pulls the rib out. Yeah. So go ahead, push the rib back in and it's going to come right back out.
And now in hindsight, when I look back at all my chiropractor treatments, I don't know if it was even helping or if it was making it worse. Because when I would get my neck adjusted, I would feel better for a little bit, and then after, it's a Band-Aid. And that constant, would that not...
Okay, if you're continually going for chiropractic and getting adjusted and the same adjustment for weeks and months, understand something. You're trying to take something and stretch it when it's beef jerky. Yeah. You're trying to stretch it and jam it into place. Now, eventually, it could stay if you got enough displaced calcium to cement around it, scar tissue to cement around it, and you go, it doesn't pop out anymore, but guess what? You lose your range of motion. So you talk to anyone who's got a hip replacement, who got spinal surgery, knee surgery, they're going to tell you, I'm not in pain anymore, but I've lost my range of motion. Okay? And eventually, because it's a scar tissue issue, because the main thing about growing old, everybody says growing old sucks. Well, it does suck if you don't know how to master your mind to reduce the inflammation from dysfunctional beliefs and thoughts you have. And then if you don't know how to get rid of an inflammatory diet, because everybody eats an inflammatory diet in your family. I just love when people go, I'm cutting back. Well, the damage is happening faster than you can reverse it. Okay? So the bottom line is this, so you're trying to stretch the beef jerky when you do a chiropractic adjustment. Listen, chiropractics, I get it. You want your spine to be straight, aligned spine. Because why do you want it to be aligned is because the pelvis picks up all this information from your good bacteria, and it really does. And it goes into the bottom of the coccyx. The information is in the spinal fluid, which has more light and information than any other part of your body. So if there's a curve in it, it slows down the flow, slows down the information, just like everything else. And especially if you've got displaced calcium, scar tissue, right? And you're choking off the actual spinal column. So you're slowing it down. So not enough communication, not enough information, not enough light is getting into the brain. So you're getting wrong information up there. Now, so we want to have the spine straight. So I believe in chiropractic. It can be life-saving. But the reality is, you know what? If you're going to someone, it depends on how chronic it is, But, if you're not seeing changes within a few weeks, I mean, did you see changes the first treatment you got with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
More so than any treatment I've ever done.
Right.
In my life. And I feel like I have dabbled into everything for my back.
Yeah.
I can bring up the image of the first before and after. There you go. That's the after the very first treatment.
That was the very first treatment one. Okay. So if you take a look, everyone, you can see the very first treatment before and after.
Yeah.
So understand something. When somebody says to you, okay, this is all we can do for you, what do? You go home and you cry. That's what you do. You go home and you cry.
And you manage it. You kind of accept what they tell you. And you're like, okay, these are the tools that I have. And you just kind of work within those tools because that's really all that you know of. That's all they're giving you. So I was working with what I was told by the physio, by acupuncture, massage, a chiropractor. So I was just working within that small range of.
And I want to tell you, and I mean this in the best way, all of those therapies have a place.
Yeah.
But the reality is these practitioners they've not been trained properly. Unless you're dealing with the displaced calcium, unless you're dealing with the scar tissue issue, and reversing that back into beautiful connective tissue, and melting the crystallization, okay, then good luck with that.
And I'm so grateful for those therapies.
Yes.
I really am, and they have helped me, but none of them really got to the core. None of them spoke about displaced calcium. It was just something that you have to manage, and that was one thing that I didn't like anymore. I wanted to change from being. I was almost like held hostage by my chiropractor that I need to go every 2 weeks, otherwise I wasn't functional. And I wanted sovereignty. I wanted the power with me. I didn't want to have to rely on an outside institution, person to make me feel what I should feel like. And that's what really got me thinking like, okay, like I need to make a change and there has to be something else. And then stroke of luck, my colon hydrotherapist mentioned you, and then the rest is history.
So we've talked a few times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you told me you were doing a certain type of yoga, right?
Yes. In my probably early mid-20s, I found it was my first ever yoga class. I was never a yoga girl. I did all the gym. I was active in other ways. I went to a Bikram yoga class, and it's for the first yoga class. I didn't know if I was going to survive that class because it's intense. It's 90
military
minutes.
Yoga.
Absolutely. I was like, what is this in here? One water break, like 90 minutes. You're in a heat chamber. But during those 90 minutes, I really felt you're sweating. I felt really good in my body. And then I got relief from that. It was, I don't know, maybe it was a mental thing. Maybe it was that adrenaline hit I needed. But my body did. Physically, it did feel, I felt just more pliable almost after doing that yoga. And now after having conversations with you, I realize implementing the stretches.
Like the pelvic squats.
Yep, the crab stretch.
What do you think of the crab curl?
Oh, I ate a piece of humble pie when I was trying to do that because it was tough. Like I can go to yoga and I, my perception, I'm like, yeah, I'm flexible. I can do all the postures. And then the simple crab stretch that Daryl mentioned last time, I was like, I can't even, like the mobility in my shoulder blades. I was like, what? And it was like going numb, and I could feel just like a stinging pain where there must be an attachment here from my shoulder up here.
Yeah, they're called the upper eyes, and it's right at the
and
occiput.
that's where that's where my chiropractor would always work on. He would always adjust this spot here. But after doing your therapies and your stretches, I realized everything I was trying to fight fire with fire.
You were trying to use feminine force.
Yes.
Feminine force.
Yeah.
To make it right.
Because I was trying to pull. And when I pulled, I don't...
Tug of war.
Yeah.
Tug of war.
Yeah. And now when I do these stretches, your body when you're relaxed,
and when you're connected to the Lionheart breath,
your body does it on its own and you don't have to do anything. It's like passive and you're like, wow. And I feel so much more relief. I feel like things are actually happening. Things are loosening on their own without me even have to do anything.
You just have to, you know what?
You just have to
just
let it be
there.
Yeah.
Just be there.
And the it'll melt on its own. Like your leg, you're just by, wow, I don't have to do anything. And the whole time, my 35 years, I was trying to do something. I was trying to force it. I was trying to pull it because I felt like
self-care, self-love, lengthen, strengthen, detox and tone, go with the flow, let it go, just let it go. And you know what? She's talking about the crab curl and the pelvic enhancer and also there's 3 what we call pelvic squats. If you do those twice a day, and I don't care what the problem is anywhere in the human body, it will outdo. And I'm not taking away yoga, anything, or calisthenics, or anything else, but those exercises will outdo everything you ever did. And even going to the gym, they'll outdo that. They'll outdo everything. Okay, because your pelvis is the holy grail, and nothing stretches out the upper body, the neck, the pecs, the shoulder blades.
Unbelievable. And I've done a lot
of... the crab stretch. And I made the crab stretch up.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of yoga.
Do you know why I made that up?
Why?
Because teaching Wolfe Non-Surgical to therapists, if they do the crab stretch in the morning before they start work, and they do it at the end of the day, they'll never have to have anybody work on their neck and their upper body.
It's incredible. And after you do the crab stretch, the sense of relief I get in my upper shoulder, it's incredible. I don't do it.
It opens your lungs. It opens your lungs another 20 to 30%. You can breathe better.
It's tough to do. Like it's tough for me to do. Like my arms go numb, and I can do about 5 minute stints at a time.
And can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
Until you start to go numb somewhere.
Yeah.
Or look, here's the deal. If you do the Lionheart breathing, when you do the pelvic squats, when you do the pelvic enhancer, when you do the crab stretch, as long as you're doing 6 seconds in, 7 seconds out, and then focusing wherever you feel the pain, you send the breath there in your mind. Mm-hmm. You will never tear out. You'll just open up like a flower because it's lengthened and strengthened. You will not have problems. I am telling you. Be gentle, be loving to yourself, and this is the reality. We have been taught to hate ourselves, and people do hate exercise. I don't care how many people get injured at the gym, how many people are running and they're in so much pain. The reality is you don't even have to move. You just have to stay there, connect to your breath, and if you held all of these exercises, the 3 squats, the crab stretch, for 3 to 5 minutes and connected to your breath, and if you did the pelvic enhancer table and you did that for 15 minutes each leg, you will be in way better shape than the person that works out for an hour and a half every day. And that's it.
You can feel things starting to melt. Like you can feel it. And I think that we're just lopsided in society. We're just all contraction and working out, and you have to do.
The reality is this. From the very beginning, there's a group of people that have taught us, this is what you need to learn to be successful. This is what you need to learn to be wealthy. This is what you need to learn to be healthy. And it's all BS. Dysfunctional belief systems. It's like you almost get there, but you never do. And you always end up injuring yourself, or you almost make money, or you don't. The whole thing is a mess.
It is.
It's a mess.
It's backwards, really.
So what do you think of the just the discussions we have? What do you think about the emotional stuff I've been talking about with you?
You know, I think they're.
Do you think that you were twisted up here before you were twisted down here?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like the other talks that we've had, I think were just as helpful, maybe even more than the physical treatments. I truly do. Even after the one treatment that you gave me, which was 10 minutes maybe.
Why don't you tell them about it? Because I'm not shy.
It was, so I had quite a few treatments before.
Yeah.
Daryl worked on me for it was maybe 10 minutes.
10 minutes at the max.
Yeah.
That's it.
It felt like an hour. I don't know how long it felt like. But so before Daryl worked on me for 10 minutes, I had many treatments with Tara, and they were very intense, very painful, but in a good way. It's like
well, what do you want to do? Do you want to manage your pain?
Yeah, and honestly...
Or do you want someone else to manage your body? Or do you want to master your pain, to master your body, to take your life back? Because pain is a GPS. It's not your enemy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's almost like, do you want the pain of getting better? You want the pain of healing? Or do you want the pain of just deteriorating and
going insane?
And yeah. So it's like, you kind of have to choose what you want. Which one do you want? And anyway, so when I had again multiple treatments with Tara, so I was pretty well versed. I'm like, I got this. Like I knew what to expect from the treatments, because they can be pretty intense. They're going in there fairly deep with, they're going in there fairly deep. This one?
Yeah, no, this one. We're over there. We're over here. Whatever.
Okay, so they're going in fairly deep with their elbow, working on the spine, and they're very sensitive places. And you just came in and you just knew, I need to go to that one spot. I'm like, okay, I got this, and I couldn't even...
The spot was no bigger than this.
It was...
That was it, right?
Yeah, and it felt...
That's all the biggest
I couldn't even tell you where the location was on my back. It just felt like my entire side of my back was just ripping. I thought bones were breaking. It was very, very intense, but more so on an emotional level. I was going to be composed. The doctor's coming in to work on me. Okay. And I was very emotional. I was crying. I thought I was going to vomit, to be honest. I was like, wow, I wasn't going to, but I had that feeling of there's something stuck in my throat, and I had that feeling of I'm going to throw up. And it felt like an out-of-body experience almost, but emotionally, not really physical.
So whether
it was intense, but it was like I wanted it because it was freeing. That's what it felt like.
Yeah,
it was freeing.
It's a struggle because your spirit wants you
to be free,
to be free,
yeah.
And your subconscious wants you to just, well, you know what? I know you're suffering, but we're going into uncharted territory, and I don't think that you could emotionally handle what he's going to release.
And after that treatment, like, I'm pretty good at self-regulating myself and managing my emotions and figuring stuff out on my own. But after that, I was like, I wanted to have a conversation with you about what happened. Like, what was that? I remember that night I was laying in bed. I had the Avicin, the Biopton on me, and I wanted to call you because I'm like, what was that? And physically, my body felt fine. Like, I recovered very quickly.
Now, people may not want to hear this. But it was the trauma that actually caused her scoliosis.
Yeah.
And it was buried so deep because something happened on an emotional level that was so twisted, she could not process it.
Yeah.
So everything, if you take my courses, we teach all this. Every negative emotion will get stored in a certain joint or an organ or a certain place. And that's the deal.
And you had to go in pretty tough. Like, I felt the force that you used.
Yeah. But I was just locking in to the main root that was holding and wrapped her. It was wrapped right. Okay, so here's the deal. It was a root. It was actually a root, everyone. So get this.
Like
it's
calcium?
not just me saying a root. No, it was a calcified rope, and it was wrapped around her spine, and it was underneath her scapula. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the Wolfe Non-Surgical. It's an action sort of like this, because what you're doing is you're trying to come on a 45-degree angle, because all of the fibers, see what happened, she was like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Big fist on her back.
Yeah.
So the reality is we've got to get it to become a hand, and then we've got to open the fibers. So what I would do is my motion was in, and then I would twist my arm like this to try to open it up. And you could feel me doing that, right? It was almost like a corkscrew. I was trying to unscrew the root and untie the root from around the spine and underneath the scap. And this is why people are crippled up. Yeah. So, but now understand, even though it was physical, It was more emotional,
Yeah.
because I connected right to her breath, and I put my epigenetic thinking, okay, above thinking in my elbow when I did it. And it was to unlock the emotional and the physical at the same time. And did it feel like that?
It didn't even feel like a physical. Like after that, I wasn't concerned with the physical, body. It was fine. I felt free. I felt open, but it was more of like a trauma. And I felt like you knew what you did. You were aware of what was it, and I wasn't too sure. I wanted to have a conversation about it because I wanted to understand what that was, because it was an experience I've never had before.
We know what it was. It was deep suppressed emotion that could not be processed and was buried. You know what? You want to bury something for 20 years?
Yeah.
You don't want to think that it's going to get pretty toxic, okay? We'll just bury this here. You don't want to deal with it, okay? And the reality is we loosen the emotion within the physical, but the reality is sometimes people see visions and they go, oh my God, that brought me right back to da-da-da. It's not that you have to see it. Mm-hmm. It's not that you have to know it, because, you probably could have made peace with that many times over since then. Yeah. But guess what? It was still locked in. Hey, if I took the emotion and I put it here, and then I jam my tissue together, and it's all jammed up, and then I were to make it into like a big knot, all right? I don't care. Even though you might have dealt with it on this level, it's still here. And that's why people will say, I've done so much emotional work. I've let go of so much. I went back. I did recall healing. I did the whole thing, but I'm still crippled up. And I'm going, because you know what? Those are physical blocks.
And that was me. I was, I was that person. I've changed my life, complete 180. I thought I healed on emotionally from stuff that happened in my past, relationships and whatnot. And like my life I feel like I have a new life right now, but it's that physical, it's still stored in there, because it's still there. Physically, it's still there. And how did it get physically there? Well, it started up here first. So it was almost like you're releasing.
But think of the beliefs that you had, or still maybe even have, your little judgment beliefs. Or think about how you let things go and you shouldn't let those things go. Think about how you say yes to the outside world, but you don't say yes to you. Yeah. Think about how you have taken your feminine power and kind of put a cap on it. In what areas of your life? Because that's it right there. That's it. You know what? I'm going to tell you something. Right now, the human species is on the edge of becoming something else. Mm-hmm. We are letting our spirit go. We have been programmed to actually hate ourselves on a subconscious level. People aren't going to get this. I know that. Well, I don't hate myself. Okay, then why can't you heal yourself? Because you have to be running a hate program if you can't untie or get rid of the physical blocks in your body. Because dis-ease means you're not at ease, which means you are attacking yourself, and that's called an autoimmune disease. Yeah. Right? And understand, think about it throughout your life when that got worse. It got worse when you were conflicted with yourself, when you weren't good enough, when you didn't make the mark, okay? When you were frustrated because the world didn't give you the love it promised it was going to give you.
And it was like I did this myself. That's
unconsciously,
yes,
subconsciously.
I didn't want this. Obviously, I don't. I don't want this. But now looking back,
look at this stuff that people
work.
Look at the stuff that people do now.
Yeah.
They don't think. They have no logic.
Yeah.
They just okay. It's all herd mentality.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? You actually believed up until you started coming to us that your personality was you. And your personality wasn't you. It was the brainwashing of 12 years of school or 15 years of school. It was the good and the bad from your parents. It was the good and the bad from society, because we don't filter things. People don't filter things now. They'll watch anything, they'll eat anything, they'll drink anything, they'll say anything. A lot of people will do that.
Yeah.
And you, where are you at? How much do you love you now?
110%. All of it.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't find yourself throughout the day?
I catch myself now. Like, now I'm aware of it. I'm not perfect, but I can catch myself when I have those moments of reverting back to old ways. Then I respond quicker.
Okay,
I'm like, okay, so I catch myself. Judgment.
More. It's all about practice.
Yeah.
And you know what? And when you do catch yourself, you don't go, oh, you're such stupid.
No.
You should get this already. No, that's your subconscious sucker punching you. You have to be loving and patient, but you've got to be focused. And I'm going to tell everybody something right now, and you better get this. Energy medicine is the key to healing you. And there's no energy medicine stronger than your emotions. It's called energy in motion. And if you don't master those, then just get ready for the bumpiest life and the most pain and suffering. But don't worry, everybody else in your family is going to be pain and suffering too. So you'll just fit right in. And then guess what? When there's chaos in your family, you can all go to your alcohol or your toking or your prescription drugs and just lose yourself, because that's where we are today. As soon as something happens and it's uncontrollable, this is when I can go and just lose myself.
Yeah. Gives them permission to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not losing yourself anymore, eh?
No.
How did your family accept you with your changes? That,
to be honest, when I first started, it was tough family-wise. We're a European family. My parents are immigrants from Italy, so culturally very connected to the food, and that's a big part of the culture. So that was very tough when I first started.
A lot of garlic bread.
Oh my gosh, pasta, lasagna, chicken cacciatore, all that stuff. Delicious. I grew up on that.
Yeah.
I grew up on all that stuff. And then when I did a complete 180, cut out all that stuff, went whole food, plant-based, and that was tough. Family-wise, it was tough. Going to dinners and stuff.
Well, you're no longer part of the herd. You're no longer part of the family.
No, it was almost like, well, what are you doing? Like, eat normal food. Like, eat the normal food.
And it was like what's wrong with us?
Yeah, and it was like disrespecting
something.
them.
Normal is what the majority does.
Yeah.
So even if the majority are killing themselves, you're not normal.
Yeah. And that's normal in society.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But it took a while. It took a couple of years for me to gain the confidence. And now I show up and I have pride with it. And now my family adopts. They're asking me questions like, oh.
And you know what? Because you're a Braveheart goddess. And you know what? You are the gift to your family. But at the beginning, you weren't. You were the black sheep. Yeah. You were the pain in their side.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's when you know something, you got to hold the line, and you got to stay in the present moment. Yeah. And when you do that, you become the gift.
Yeah.
The present becomes the gift.
And you be proud of it, truly. Be proud of
Yeah.
Be proud of it. Because you don't know who you're affecting. Even at my job now, I have students come and ask me questions. Oh, why you eat different? You're drinking different. Everyone has coffee and eats the standard food around my job, and do it with pride. And I have coworkers asking me questions. Students are like, you're always drinking green stuff. And like,
you do know that you make people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then you cause them to judge themselves, and then they dislike you. And that what they don't know is it's not them. It's the subconscious, because we don't realize the subconscious is 90% of our brain. The prominent dominant beliefs are going to do anything to protect themselves, even if they have to lie, cry, and justify.
Yeah, and truly, I would tell people out there, do not take it personally what anybody tells you, and just know what is true to you and what you feel is you need to do for yourself.
My God. You find your roar.
Yeah.
Stand in your pride.
Absolutely.
And give your family the gift of courage. Because guess what? We don't have courage today. I mean, does anybody notice? You do know that by the time there was a major study by Yelp, and they said that 60 to 70% of all mom and pop businesses will not be reopening next November.
Wow.
Wow. So understand, we've lost our faith, and you have. I don't care if you're down on your knees, begging the Lord, please, you lost your faith. Okay. Let's make that perfectly clear. Yeah. Because you know what? You need to stand and be proud of who you are and understand that freedom comes with a price, and that price is to honor, respect, and that our Creator created us to create.
And we know, I truly feel like we know, we have an inner knowing, like you can feel it. I've had moments in my life where I felt it. It was so profound, and you just know, you feel it. It's like visceral. You feel it in you, and just trust that, follow that. Otherwise, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Your
gut is smarter than your brain until you learn that you have to retrain your brain and get rid of all the dysfunctional, prominent, dominant beliefs that have been driven into you since you went to school. Look, school's not for any reason except to program you, make you into a little servant. That's all. You're just a servant. Yeah. That's all you are. You're just a worker. And the reality is and tell me you're not. Okay, look at the kids today. Can't read, can't write, can't spell.
No critical thinking.
Can't even add up and do math. Right? So it's the greatest plot that ever happened in history. Okay?
Yeah.
So the reality is, you know you're making big strides, right? And you know that someday your back is going to be normal. Mm-hmm. And it's actually going to be normal.
Yeah, I'm so...
And you know why it's going to be normal? Because you're abnormal.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, truly. It took a while to gain a confidence, to hold it, to be it.
We all have to test it out.
But
you're testing the water out.
Yeah.
You put your toe in.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe foot. You know, you're testing it out. And then what do? You put it in. You test it out a little bit, and then you look around to see. Okay, what are they saying? What is everybody looking at me about? Are they judging me? And you just can't care.
Yeah. And once
you cannot care.
No. And once you taste it, there's no going back.
Yeah.
Once you reach that point,
yeah,
there's it's almost you gain just more momentum, and there's no going back. You just feel like you just keep on evolving.
Yeah. That's why, you know, I understand why people find me hard to chew, you know, because the reality is that they don't see people practicing total self-love and total self-care. And you know what? If I didn't practice total self-love and total self-care, I could not teach it. And the reality is that people need to see that it's, okay, first of all, we have been taught that if you totally love yourself and care for yourself, somewhere in there, you're going to go to hell. And people say, I'll say, are you religious? And they'll go, not at all. And I go, then why are you such a judgment case? You got to stop judging yourself. You got to look at things and then go, what can I learn from this? And then move on as quickly as possible. And people go, no, if you don't suffer, then guess what? You might hurt somebody again. What, are you crazy?
Or it's selfish because you're putting yourself first before, you know.
Or you're putting yourself first. You're flying here every few weeks.
Yeah.
Spending all this money.
There's no other option. Like, I'm doing this. Like, absolutely. Like, in my mind, that it's not an option. I will arrange for this to happen because I've done it. I felt like I've done it all. I've tried everything, and I am so ready to heal and become the best that I can be and have my body.
So you're a teacher, right?
Yeah, I'm a teacher.
So has this changed you from wanting to be a teacher or to be a teacher? Or what is it you want to be? Because nobody goes through these life-changing experiences and say, yeah, it's okay where I'm at. Because you end up wanting more. Because you know you're physically not limited by what you have. So why would you emotionally or mentally limit it yourself?
Yeah.
So what do you want?
I love teaching kids. I do. But I want to teach them this message.
Okay.
I want to be a voice for the message, for all the teachers that I learned from, all my mentors. It changed my life, and I want to be a voice for that,
What does
and
that
help
look like?
and help kids do that.
What does it look like?
I'm not too sure yet.
See?
But I thought about that many times.
Well, they need you.
And
they need
yeah.
you.
And you know, I feel like I'm at the position I'm at because the kids, they do need me there.
Now that you're no longer twisted.
Yeah. And they can see that, and
Yeah.
they're so beautiful to be with. Like, I would teach kids, I would be with kids than adults any day of the week. Just, I can have conversations with them that I can't really have with adults. They're more receptive.
Whenever we go to a party, I look for where the kids
Yep.
are, and I get right on the floor.
Yeah.
Even if they're playing with lint, I'm in.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
100%. Like,
Yeah.
it's phenomenal too. Like, I teach they're high school students.
Yeah.
And some of them are older, 17, 18 years old. But when I teach them, and I can have conversations with them, and the openness, the receptiveness, I cannot have these conversations with other coworkers or adults because they're so cemented in
The program.
It's this and it's this, and it's kids are just like, oh. And when you explain things, like, life is pretty simple.
Yeah.
And when you can explain it to kids like that, they're like, oh, that makes sense. I'm their science teacher, so maybe I have a little edge for them that I can explain things a little bit. Like, guys, like, life doesn't have to be as complicated as everyone makes it out to. And they just get it. Like, the kids get it. And they're receptive, and they know.
Well, yeah, and they haven't had the schooling that you've had and I had. And the reality is, people say, well, how long did you go to school? And I'll go, long enough. Long enough.
And you know what? And I'm honest, because I will tell the students the most important things that I've learned in my life did not come from a textbook sitting in a desk in a building like this.
No.
And I have to be honest to the kids about that. Otherwise, I can in good conscience not tell them that, because it's the truth. And
on a side note, I hope everybody knows that the Rockefellers were in charge of writing all the books that you'll see from kindergarten all the way through university. Thank you so much, Rockefellers. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And guess what? They're rocking everybody's world, aren't they?
Yeah. It's just so interesting to see how everyone just buys in it so easily, and it's so quickly. Like, it's just like, this is it.
But you understand now, though, don't you, that you can have anybody eat anything, drink anything, do anything. You just have to keep hammering at them, Okay?
Yeah.
You're no good. You've never been good for me. You've never loved me properly. Who would love you anyway? You know, and whether we're talking about that, or we're talking about commercials, or we're talking about, just think about this. And please don't get me wrong, but the majority of the population, do they ever listen to what they're actually saying? Do they own that? Do you actually own what you say? You know what I think we should do? Do you remember, maybe you don't, but a long time ago, when you took a taxi, they'd come in and they'd have this handle, and they'd pull the handle down, and then it'd go tick, 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 tick. And it was a timer, plus when the wheels would go, you would pay for the amount of time you're in there. I think that, you know, since we're all going to become robots anyways, we should get one of those things, and then when we go to open our mouth, we have to pull that down, and then whatever comes out, we've got to pay for. Okay? Now, if you had to pay for everything that you said, okay, you wouldn't be going around just blowing BS out of your mouth, which is dysfunctional belief systems. I mean, think about it. Do you ever find yourself saying something because someone else said it, and then you say it, but you didn't give it any thought, and it starts to come out, and you go, why am I even talking about this?
Yeah.
Anyways, so.
Yeah.
Bless your back that it caused you to dig, because look at.
Oh, I think it's the greatest blessing, because it taught me so much.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah.
It truly,
that bump on her back was a bump in the road, and it said, slow down, girl. Yeah. Think about this.
Yeah. It just, I'm grateful for it at the end of the day. I'm grateful that I get to go through these treatments, and they don't get any easier, but I just think we're just getting down to more of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to get something here. So think about this. Do you know people take a look. Bring those pictures back up. The picture that she had when she first came and now. And understand something. If anybody had that on their back, they would be going, get that ugly thing off my back. Yeah. And actually, what we want to say is get that ugly thing out of my mind.
Yeah.
Because that ugly thing in my mind got that ugly thing on my back. And you know what? You cannot take a knife to yourself and not end up having more scar tissue and more problems, especially if they went in and put two rods on either side.
Oh,
guess what?
Goodness.
Well, you can forget the crab stretch.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you right now, just 2 weeks ago, we had a man here, and he went and got a tumor, and the tumor, because tumors are so acidic, it started drawing the calcium off his vertebrae, and L3 and L4 actually crumbled because the tumor was, the body was using the calcium to buffer the acid around the tumor to try to stop it from growing. So what they did was they put two rods on either side. And I'll tell you something right now. He is so healthy, but the actual surgery, he can't get out of bed right now because the rods, are coming down and they're hitting a nerve. So that, where the rod is, that's going to have to calcify and get lots of scar tissue to numb that part of the nerve out before he can get out of bed. But to do that, he's got to get out of bed, but it's too painful to get out of bed because the rod is jamming him. So understand something. Before you put screws in, before you put plates in, before you put mesh in, before you put anything in, understand, did you ever have a sliver? A little sliver is going to irritate you. And you may not feel those pieces, but let me tell you something. The implant industry wants everybody to have an implant. Okay? The pharmaceutical industry, for every 10 years, they have one agenda. And don't believe me, go ask a doctor. They say for every 10 years, we want them on another prescription. So if you're 30, 3 of them. If you're 55, if you make it to 70, you've got 7 different prescriptions. I have to do a consult on a lady just this afternoon when I get done here. She's on 10 different prescriptions. She says to me, how are you going to get me off all these drugs? I did another lady this morning, talked to her from Africa. How are you going to get me off all these drugs? And I'm saying, we're not going to get you off the drugs. Your body will. We're going to bring up your vibration. And as we bring up your vibration, we'll detoxify from those, and you will not need them. So the reality is, it's not my job to do that. And the reality is once you take 2, you're okay. But you add a 3rd prescription, and guess what? You're now the mad scientist. They don't even know what symptoms are going to be going on.
Yeah, you're like an experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole world's an experiment right now. Yeah. So, what do you think? What do you think about your future? What do you think about life? What would you like to tell everybody?
Oh, I think there's no limit. Don't put a limit to yourself of what you can do, how good you can feel. And healing is real, and your body is so smart, and it can do it on its own. You just need to give it the right environment.
Externally and internally.
Yep. And we just need to love ourselves more.
The body has no limit when you honor the spirit.
Yeah.
And the spirit is unconditional, universal love for everything and everyone. You know, there's people out there that have really bad beliefs, right? But we won't focus on them. We're going to focus on what we want, right?
And truly, it's so nice and it's so empowering to see you stand in your power, being everything that you teach. Being around the clinic and having conversations with you and just seeing how you know, what you do, everything. You do so much around here. And it is truly empowering to see you embody it. And when you be around it, it's like you kind of pick up on that. And it inspires you there's somebody out there that's doing that. So it gives you kind of that light under the fire under your butt to want that as well. And I really appreciate everything, the teachings that you teach and the conversations that you had with me to help me just as much or maybe more than the physical treatments. And I'm so grateful for them.
Well, just remember, the genius point in all of us can only be found in the present moment.
Yeah.
The genius point, the power point. Now, what if, no matter what goes on in the world, what goes on in your family, that you decided you weren't going to suffer? Oh, right away. Oh my gosh, people are going, are you kidding me? The person that suffers the most in the family is the one who loves the most.
Yeah.
And what if you didn't suffer, but you said, what can I learn from this? Can I take action and help them? And if I can't, what should you be doing? Minding your own business.
Yeah.
Protecting and loving and caring for yourself. And when you can do for others, you'll be able to do for others only when you can do it for yourself.
Yeah. From your overflow.
Yeah. Think about all the women you've known that are older than you and not older than you that are always giving of themselves to everyone else, but not giving back.
They're depleted.
Yeah. Every woman I almost talk to that I do have to consult, oh no, I know what love is. And then after 20 minutes, half hour, you know what? I don't even know what it even smells like. What is self-love? What the heck is that? Yeah. What is that?
You need to practice what you preach, truly. Like, it starts with you.
Yeah.
Before you can be it to everyone else or give it, you need to do it for yourself first.
And if you're going to have children, and if you don't understand the power of self-love and self-care, what would you like? Would you like your children to love themselves as much as you do? Would that be 100% or only 30% or 10%? Because the reality is, if you only loved yourself 10%, do you know how much trouble you're going to get in? Because if you don't like who you are and your personality, you're going to find a new one. And that's how we do it with drugs, right? We do it with prescription drugs, street drugs. We do it with alcohol. We do it with eating. Come on. Yeah. You know, if a person loves themselves totally, then they don't try to lose themselves.
And you will not disrespect yourself. You will not put yourself in a situation that you're not honoring yourself. You're downgrading.
And what's that got to do with scoliosis?
Everything. It's where it starts.
Yeah. From a pimple to a
honestly,
tumor.
like I had no physical trauma that happened in my life. I was healthy. I was active. Nothing physically. There was no event that happened that was like, oh, would have sprung it. But I'm grateful for it because it led me to this path and experiencing all these different emotions and physically what's going on in the body and all these other layers. And it's just an onion. Like when the layers keep on coming, you're like, oh my gosh, where's this one coming from? And so it's intense work, but it's so liberating and it's worth it 1,000-fold. Like there's just no other way.
So you've been at this for how long? 4 months?
No, not even.
3 months.
2.5.
2.5 months.
Yeah, I started December 24th or 23rd, I think was my first treatment with Tara. Okay,
so now.
Yeah. And they were like, and I'm on it. Like you said, don't wait longer than 2 weeks. You got to get back here in 2 weeks. I'm like, yes, I'm going to get back here in 2 weeks.
Because it's all muscle memory, everyone. So just so you know that. Just like how you know how to put your pants on in the dark. Yeah. Her back says, oh no, we need to get all that scar tissue and that calcium back here, and we need that lump to come back, and we need to tighten it all up. Okay, somebody out there is a terrorist, and no. So we got to keep going in there and making a new path. And it's just more
like, and it feels so different. It feels like there's nerves that are coming back. It feels sensation, like it feels different. Before when I got work done from Tara, I was like, okay, this isn't, it was intense, but it was almost like numb. It felt almost numb.
Because the nerves had scar tissue and calcium wrapped around them. And you know, the next time that your doctor says, you've got stenosis, that the nerve is dead, the nerve is not dead. Okay? He's got dead head. Yeah. Okay? Because the nerve's not dead. The scar tissue wrapped around the nerve with the calcium to try to dull the nerve down so you don't have to, because you can't live with the pain. Because we don't want you offing yourself. And if you have to live with the pain, then you're going to do drugs, and the body's going, okay, I got it. You don't know what to do with this. We're going to. We're going to numb it out with calcium. We're going to numb it out with scar tissue. And when you decide to wake up and you decide to get all that off of there, that nerve will come back. Understand, nerves, say this, don't die. Okay? They get choked. And the only reason why they die is if they get cut. And it's believed that they'll actually grow back, which I believe and understand. But then I believe in a lot of stuff, you know, that other practitioners don't believe in. Like, you know what? Don't go to a practitioner unless they totally love and honor themselves, because they need to teach you that.
Yeah. I felt the nerves. I felt the tingling, especially after the last 2 days of Tara working on me. I felt, oh my goodness, like what's going on here? You can feel it coming back. It's incredible. The body's always trying to protect you. If it's calcifying this spot, if it's numbing a nerve out,
well, it's going to shut down because
always trying to
if it doesn't shut down,
then
the pain steals your immune system away. It wears you down. I can't take anymore. Better numb this out. That's it. Yeah.
This is the most incredible.
So would you think you'd go out with a different guy in 3 months? Do you think the guy would be different than 3 months ago?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Even the guy.
Okay, let's just find out here. So what kind of guy would he be now?
Oh, a guy that loves himself.
Why?
Because that's the only way to live. That's the only way. Because I feel it with myself.
Yeah.
And I want that for someone else as well.
For somebody that loves and cares for themselves.
Because then when you do that, then you can truly love someone else. Then you can truly give your share with somebody else. Yeah. And you want someone that understands that.
Yeah. But
even a guy, do
you remember the first time you fell in love? How desperate were you for the love? How desperate? Like oxygen, right?
It was.
Please save me. Right? I know I was. And, I went out with this girl. Her name was Wendy Harper. She was the first person I really fell in love with. And when we broke up mutually. I didn't get over her for 2 years. I couldn't even sleep on the couch. I slept on the floor. I was in pain so bad, but I knew it was over. And then, you know what? I didn't realize till years later. Okay, I was young. Okay, but I didn't know till years later that I hurt so bad because I didn't have any love for myself. Yeah. So when she left, and I thought she took the love, but all she did was trigger the love inside of me, and that's what I was feeling the whole time. But I didn't know that she was triggering my own love. But then when she left, my heart was so empty. I don't know. I was crushed. Yeah. Wendy, wherever you are, okay? She's in California somewhere, but I haven't seen. This is back when I was like 19 years old, right? Yeah.
So you're younger.
Huh?
Young love.
I was just a little. I was a little younger.
Yeah. No, we all had that experience. I had that too in my 20s. Yeah. You're like, oh, your life is over, because somebody. You relying on somebody else to have that love.
Love heals. Love is the most beautiful, most high frequency thing, but we didn't. They told us that it was a rental.
And you have to seek it from outside yourself.
Yeah, and that's the sucker punch that has got us into this mess right here. Okay.
And having it, cultivating it in you, you won't get rocked by whatever happens out there.
Yeah.
Not by anybody, not by any situation, not by any government, anything.
Seriously, guys. So, so the reality is that, that's what we're attracted to. We're attracted to people's spirit, to their light, to their frequency, to their vibration. Yeah. And that's why we need to think about that when it comes to food, when it comes to drink, when it comes to exercise, when it comes to people, even if it's relatives or close family. You know what? Don't poison yourself.
No, and you naturally gravitate towards those people anyway.
Yeah.
Like you gravitate to people's energy.
Yeah.
You can tell if someone's like, oh, okay, I want to hang out with this person, or I need to stay away from that person. Yeah. You kind of have like that.
Right away.
You can't sense it.
Right away.
You sense
so you better not be too hungry, because if you're too hungry, you make bad decisions.
Yeah.
I've made some bad decisions.
That's how we learn. Because I've been there too.
Yeah. You got to feed yourself that vitamin L.
That's where it starts.
So what would you like to tell everyone before we fly?
If you guys are on the fence about calling in, get a consult. if you're in a disease and no, healing is real, love yourself. I'm living proof of this. I thought I tried everything. I thought, I reached the peak of whatever treatment I was going to get for my back. No, this is it. This truly is. For now.
Guess what?
But
there'll be something else out there.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it'll be like, he was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's always something better.
Yeah, you're true. That's true. That is
you're
true.
You're going to move on.
That's
right now, we're guiding and coaching you, but then you're going to go, Okay.
Yeah. And because you're going to find you have that own power.
Yeah.
It's in you. It's not, you don't have to, it's not another doctor. It's not another healer. Like, you are the healer. Really, truly it is. Like, you just watching my body do what it's doing. I'm like mind blowing. So you are the answer. It's in you. And you just have to respect it, listen to it, trust it.
Well, there's a relationship. You're blowing your own mind.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
You get to go home with yourself.
I do. It's awesome. You're going to hang out with myself all the day, every day.
And guess what? And you want to get there that, you know what? You're the most fun person to be with. Right?
And, you know, a partner is just like the bonus. It's
it's
like, oh, I'm excited to share.
Two bright lights come together.
Yeah.
And they create a star.
Yeah. And it's,
Yeah.
So, no, and I want to thank you for everything that you've done and your time and your voice and being around the clinic and being around you too. It is empowering. Just to be around you, you're being it. You don't just speak it, you are it. Like, you live it. It's so inspiring to
listen to me.
Totally.
I'm inspired by her just as much as, or maybe more than I inspire her. She inspires me. And understand something, okay? This is what makes it all worth it for me, okay? All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
sweetie.
So much.
You're welcome. And thank you, everybody. God bless. And just know this. Reach down inside. Find the practitioner. Find the genius. It's in there. 3, 2, 1. You got this, Braveheart.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Good day, I'm Dr. Darryl Wolfe. Do you know why you or your friends or your family are struggling with their health? Well, because they've never been given a strategy. And every time they go to see a health practitioner, whether it's medical or natural, all they're doing is getting Band-Aids. What if we were able to create a strategy that you could create the perfect day from the minute you woke up until you went to bed, and then we continue to guide and support you along your journey as you grow, your program grows. And what if you only paid one price, and you had unlimited support and guidance for the rest of your life? That's called the Perfect Day Consultation. How would it feel to you? Better still, how would it change your life to be certified in the most powerful training in regards to the emotional and physical body? Whether you're coming to us to enhance your clinic, or for personal growth, or finally, to live your passion and purpose as a natural health practitioner, you are only limited by your beliefs, but that ends today. We will be holding this New World Practitioner certification in the amazing Casa del Agua facility, 15 minutes from Playa del Carmen in the beautiful Mayan Riviera of Mexico. Can't wait to see your smiling face.
Sage is by far the best teacher I have ever touched base with. I've done a lot of courses out there, a lot of programs, a lot of emotional work, mystery skills, but this really touches, it kind of bridges the emotion and the physical component together.
He's fun and he's thorough, and he doesn't, he's making sure that you know the techniques. And so when we walk away from this particular course, and we walk away, we feel confident, and he has given us that confidence.
I took my Touch for Health training in probably about 20 years ago. I also incorporate that into my practice, but it doesn't deal with the crystallization, inflammation, and calcification. So that's why I said that this is kind of the missing puzzle piece that I needed to help people get to their optimal health.
That's the moment where you leave and you become a complete professional in what you do and in your business. You leave with the ability to be a total professional at what you do.
You can deal with the emotions and let that go. Two, like you deal with the physical. But what we're doing with this non-surgical is you're combining the emotion and physical together.
And this is the component that now I can help others. And now I'm here, and I am trained, and I am certified, and I can take this, and I can help you.
Something about this spoke to me so true. The mind-body connection and being energy beings. It's profound, and I want to share it with others so that they can have the tools to feel this love and heal themselves.
And you as a practitioner or doctor will be that guide to help see them transform and help support them through their conflict resolution, I call it, or making peace with things that have been unresolved.
Give me a call. This is your time to shine. Just remember, all questions matter because your life matters. You matter. If you're looking for life-saving and life-changing information, well, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to click and subscribe. Stay connected.